Hi guys. Oop, grandfather clock dinging. Let's just wait a minute. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This week, I want to talk about the idea of writing right as being writing white. Now, there's a really good chance that most of the books you've read have been written in a style known as Standard Written English. So what is Standard Written English, or SWE? Basically, Standard Written English is a form of English that is uniform in spelling, grammar, punctuation, and vocabulary. It includes the established informal and informal regional differences used in the writing and speech of educated people, and it is accepted wherever English is understood. So you'll note that in that definition, I emphasized the word educated. Now, it's for this reason that SWE is often referred to as Standard White English. The biggest criticism of SWE is that it contributes to the ongoing oppression of marginalized voices. So why did I decide to talk about SWE this week, and why should you care? So here's 3 reasons why it's important that you know what SWE is. 1, because the publishing industry is overwhelmingly white. 2, because the vast majority of books are written in SWE. And 3, because maybe you're unknowingly contributing to the problem by only writing white characters and/or only reading books published by white authors who use Standard Written English. Now, one of the core questions, and there are many more that come up whenever we discuss Standard Written English, is, well, what is good writing? Now, the short answer to the question, what is good writing, is white writing. The much longer question is, this shit is complicated. And the most pragmatic answer is, it's clear, concise, emotive, propelling, compelling, and invisible. Good writing feels like it's this universal standard. We know good writing when we see good writing. Now, when an individual in power says no to a manuscript, and when they ascribe that no to their personal subjectivity, their own taste, that they just don't like this particular style, what they are doing is they are assuming that their judgment and sensibilities are cultivated in a vacuum. They do not acknowledge that their beliefs and cultures and biases are all shaped by what they perceive as good. Now, certain types of people will use the blanket excuse of subjective taste as a reason to deliver a low grade to a student, or as a reason to reject a manuscript that is not written in Standard Written English. The important thing that we need to acknowledge when we talk about Standard Written English is that this standard has informed our idea of what is literary and what is intellectual. And this idea, it derives from a deep, rich history. Now, the reason why we assume that good writing is white writing is because most of the books we have read and studied and seen on listicles and short lists are all written in Standard Written English. Now, of course, there are exceptions. How could there not be? When I was filming this video, I actually Googled how many books are in print. It's 130 million books. So, of course, there are exceptions, thank God. Now, the real problem is that the preference for and the publication of SWE is a perpetual cycle. People in power, aka white people, publish stories by people who use the same language as them. Now, of course, writers kept writing in that style because those are the kinds of books that got published. And of course, writing teachers teach their students how to write using SWE because it's become the industry standard. And of course, teachers across all disciplines beyond creative writing also teach Standard Written English as a way to meet their industry standards and to ensure that their students are able to write resumes and apply for jobs in their particular industry and discipline. Now, it's really important that I tell you that SWE isn't evil. After all, there are benefits to having a widely accepted and understood form of writing. Being able to write a book in a language that is comprehensible to a wide audience is a very efficient way to write a book. But the problem is, by creating this standardized form of writing, it does allow for mass communication, but of course, it's not fully inclusive. Thankfully, writers, readers, and publishers are more aware than ever about the faults of standardized writing. Now, of course, when we talk about SWE, we also start to talk about the problem of appropriation and the demand for greater diversity in fiction. And this continues to appear on the bills of many literary festivals, book events, and conferences. Not to mention the volumes of opinion pieces and articles that have been penned on the matter of appropriation. The real issue here, though, is that appropriation kind of bumps heads with diversity. White writers continue to write white characters because they kind of fear the criticism that could follow if they were to write non-white characters, even though technically that's what readers want. That's what readers say they want. Now, of course, this fear is completely legitimate because many white writers have been accused of appropriation. Now, admittedly, usually these claims about appropriation only happen if the white writer has depicted a majority in a stereotypical way, or if the story is somehow exploitive. So once you start working down through these layers of standard written English, appropriation, diversity, a whole can of worms is opened up. Questions such as, who are books for? What is a universal language? What are writers for? What are novels for? How can you judge the quality of prose without standardization? How do we change a system that is so established? And how can we ask writers to change? And then all of these questions whittle down to that main question of what the hell is good writing? And again, we come back to the answer of you know it when you see it. But then again, this defense of subjectivity is not much good to us either, because how can we trust our ability to remove our own biases? And how can we believe that our biases won't affect our judgment? Now, the only sort of conclusion I can come back to that writers themselves can control is that writing is not writing, it is revision. Writers, readers, and publishers are aware of the limitations of standardized writing, and they want to do better. In the same way that a work of fiction can be tweaked, reworked, and improved with time and effort, our desire to do better and to expect more of ourselves and the books that line the hallways of our homes will begin with the dismantling of an industry that favors the voices of some while silencing others. Now, I would like to acknowledge that conversations around appropriation, diversity in fiction, and standard written English are incredibly complex. So I would love to hear from you. What sort of ideas did this video spark for you? What do you think about standard written English? And in fact, I'd really love to hear what books you've read in styles, in voices that are not standard written English. Please leave your comments below. If you'd like even more writing advice, you can head to my website, taraeast.com. I have over 150 writing advice blogs on the website. And while you're there, you can also sign up for my newsletter, because when you do, I'll send you a downloadable cheat sheet called The 7 Ways to Stay Motivated as a Writer. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. I know it was a bit of a different kind of conversation today, but I'd really love to know if you're into these kind of videos. And if you're looking for something to read, you could consider my mystery novel, Every Time He Dies, which I confess is written in standard written English. Thank you so much for watching again, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was a little bit different again. I hope you have a really good week and that you get some writing done, and I'll see you again next time.